We are on. We are live recording. So, Mr. Jeremy Creasey, or more pointedly, Shihan Creasey. The last time we actually got a chance to hang out was I went home with a bleeding lip because you punched me in the face because we were training.
Well, it's the only time that's okay, right?
Yeah, yeah,
You can. What kind of friend would you be if you didn't punch him in the face at least once?
yeah.
So,
No, so I miss getting punched in the face by you.
yeah, it's funny. I was thinking about that this morning. I was boxing this morning, and I was reminiscing of us doing that roughhousing and boxing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. So Sensei Shihan Creasey, you are what level are you at now in ninjutsu?
So in Bujinkan Ninjitsu, and I have to say that because there are other organizations, but I would arguably the largest one in the world is the Bujinkan, and I currently hold a 13th degree black belt.
13th. So the last time
Yeah,
I remember you were at 8th. So 13th is
it's
like,
been a while. Yeah, it's an accomplishment, sure, but you know, this it's my opinion. Of course, other people might differ, and I don't think it's very controversial. But the significant milestones are obviously when you get your first degree black belt. Um, you get your fifth. Not very many people get their fifth degree black belt because when I did it, um, you had to go to Japan for one, and then you had to be tested. And the test, in my case, I was fortunate enough to belong to a generation where the Grandmaster himself, Dr. Masaaki Hatsumi, tested me. And it was in 2003 in November. And he, in front of 90 people, I think is when I did it.
yeah,
And so I just know that when I signed the guest form, the sign-in sheet, I was like number 85. So like, there were a lot of people there. Too many people, actually, could barely train. Um, that's a whole story about how that went down. But that was 2003. You get your fifth degree black belt if you pass the test. And then what that gives you is that rank. You get the title of Shidoshi, which is makes you eligible to instruct. And if you get your teaching license, your Shidoshi license, that's the big one. You can open up a dojo anywhere in the world under the flag of the Bujinkan, and then you're recognized. So my name and my photograph are in a book in Japan. And then fast forward, I never stopped training. I just kept going, kept training. But in 2018, um, uh, an instructor, a colleague, and friend of mine who had gone before, um, one of the few guys that I know that was older than me, got the ranks before me, that sort of thing, uh, secured my 10th degree black belt. So that's another milestone. And the reason is because your title changes and your responsibilities change. And so you end up becoming what's called a Shihan, which is, in lay terms, essentially like a teacher of teachers.
yes,
So the title changes. The title remains the same for 11 through, for 10 through to 15. 15 is the last one. But the 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15 were added by Hatsumi Sensei not very long ago, maybe in the last like 20 years or so. He added those ranks as, in a lot of ways, to indicate real dedication to it.
yes,
You know, because like I said, most people don't get their black belt. Most people don't get their black belt because they don't train. And then to get your fifth degree black belt is like a lot of the instructors will say, you don't even start learning until you get your fifth. And I can wholeheartedly attest to that. I got my first, I thought, pretty good. I got my fifth, and I went, I didn't know shit. And that's when you really start the floodgates open. You really start to learn. When I got my 10th, I can't say that all of a sudden I had an epiphany and I could, disappear and crazy skills and all this kind of stuff. But what it did do for me, and I hope for other people, is it reignited my passion for wanting to record everything, to deep dive into where everything comes from. Because in our art, there are 9 different martial arts within the Bujinkan. Example would be like Gyokuri Yuko Shijutsu, Kokuri Yuko Kojutsu, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Each one of those is its own art, which is why it takes so bloody long. And so I thought to myself, you know what? Very, very few people continue to hit the mats and continue to train at those levels because one, it takes so long. Two, they're usually older, but it fucking hurts, man. If you train the way we train, which most people don't, and I know that sounds kind of arrogant, but I mean, I'm on the mats. I've never left the mats. I'm on the mats, roughhousing. I had a new scar since you saw me from here because I took a hanbo to the head. A hanbo's a 3-foot, like, pressure treated stick. I took a hanbo to the head, split me open, gave me 5 stitches. You know, because I love the training. I never wanted to lose my edge. The same principles I apply, believe it or not, to my professional life as a paramedic. You know, I'm in the game for the love of the game. And so getting my 13th year black belt just this past June was quite it was an experience, and I was happy to do it. And, you know, my teachers were there, and they gave it to me. But I know someday I'll get my 15th. I will. There's only one thing higher than the 15th in terms of title, and it's a special recognition. You become what's called an inheritor. So instead of Shihan, which is where I am, anybody above 10 is a Shihan, you become what's called a Dai Shihan, which is a special Shihan. And so that one, I may or may not get that one. I don't know. Usually Hatsumi Sensei has to be on the decision panel for that, but he's 94 years old.
Yeah.
So, you know, he's not roughhousing anymore, but he is still very much involved with it. And so I would have been great to get over there and see him again, because last time I saw him was 2003.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'll eventually get that. It won't change the way I train. I'm going to keep training till the wheels fall off. So that's fine. But what I was saying about the love of the game, same thing with paramedicine. In so many professions in the world, people will get the job because they have this idea of what the job is. I want to do this. I've seen it in the movie. It's exciting. It's all this stuff, right? Then they realize it's fucking hard. It's a difficult job for longevity. I mean, forget the physical element of it. You're carrying 100 pounds a year in and out of every call, up to 100 pounds a year and stuff like that into every call. And then you're carrying out a 250-pound patient along with your stuff. You do have help, of course, but
yeah,
a lot of times you don't, you know, and then you're climbing in and out of an ambulance, which is definitely not built for someone like me. I bang my head every bloody time. And then you have to do these treatments while screaming down the road. You know, the truck is rolling back and forth. You got to I tried to explain this to somebody. I said, paramedicine is essentially, you are required to make exactly the right decision with virtually no information, do exactly the right treatment in a hostile environment with less than opportune situations.
Yeah.
While screaming down the road or crunched over. And then if you make a mistake, you're held accountable. So, I mean, it's fun, right? Sign me up. But I fucking love that shit. I think the best part of my job is walking into an absolutely chaotic situation and going, okay, everybody, this is what we're doing. Bing, 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 bing. By the time I drop my patient off at the hospital, they're not the same as I found them. I found them fucking the worst location, hoarder house underneath something, you know, in a back alley, whatever. But when I drop them off at the trauma bay or the hospital, they're neat, packaged, clean, treatment done, the whole thing. And I freaking love that. But make no mistake, it wrecks your fucking body.
Yeah, your audio's kicking in and out.
I can try putting on different headphones if you want to try that.
You want to try that?
Yeah, they're just bigger headphones, but I can definitely try that.
Because I can pause it and we can pick it up.
Yeah, let's try.
Okay, and there we go.
Sure.
All right. So high degree of martial arts experience in Bujinkan Ninjitsu, paramedic. You're also an artist. You speak Japanese, and the most important job of your life is being a husband and a father. So you kind of breezed.
Yes, sir.
You kind of breezed. I mean, you went into some cool stuff about a little bit about your journey in martial arts, but let's go a little further back than that. And where are you from officially, and where'd you grow up?
So I currently live in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, which is where I am from. I was born and raised here. I'm actually a second generation Calgarian, which is super rare. And my kids are third gens. You know, everybody I meet nowadays is from somewhere else.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where I'm from. Grew up here. Made a lot of friends here. Um, it's funny actually. There's been an update since the last time I saw you. I also learned to speak Italian.
I just threw it in there.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, I speak less Japanese now because I have no reason to.
Yeah.
I mean, the dojo, we still try to speak as much Japanese as we can, but it's fallen off, just for the record. But we went to Italy last year, and I really loved it. I'm a guy who likes to be prepared, and so I learned to speak Italian before I went so that I could hit the ground running and speak Italian.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic. I think, like anything in life, you should be kind of prepared, but then just go for it. And I'll tell you, the first time I actually spoke a different language in a different country was in Japan. But when I did it again in Italy, it's scary, but it's fucking great when you go up and you go, "Scusa signore, dove una farmacia?" And she goes, "Oh, it's over there." And you're like, "Oh, this shit works." I think it's great. It's so funny because I always wanted to speak another language because, as far as I'm concerned, speaking another language is a fucking superpower. Like, it's just, it's amazing. And it really kind of falls into the vein of preparation, you know, in the sense like I spent 30 years in martial arts and trying to prepare myself for any situation and self-defense and tactical stuff, all that stuff. Why the fuck wouldn't anyone know how to speak another language in that country?
Yeah.
I would want to be able to get my way around, right? You know, being able to say something like, where's the hospital? Where's the doctor? I need a doctor, you know? And like, ho bisogno di una dottoressa. Like, that's a female doctor, but that's a doctor, right? You kind of need to know that kind of shit. And it's no different than professional training with respect to your career. You still need to know. Anyway, totally got off topic on that one.
And then, so you grew up in Calgary, and then you eventually found your way into getting into a martial art because your uncle has that legacy connection all the way back to Hatsumi Sensei. So if I remember correctly, that's how you got started in ninjitsu, was through your uncle.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, when you're a kid, you grow up and your uncle's a ninja. Like, fuck, all I ever wanted to be was a ninja.
Yeah.
And then but the funny thing is I was not allowed to start training until, like, as a little kid, because my mom was worried the other kids were going to bully me because the name was the same, Creasey, right? My uncle was the one that brought jiu-jitsu to Canada in a long time ago, over 40 years ago.
Yeah.
And there was a time when all the dojos in Canada were in some way affiliated with his dojo because he basically trained his own competition. But because he's been around so long, there are people that have been born and discovered it on their own and don't even know who the hell we are, right?
Yeah.
So, and which is fine. It wasn't until I was about 17 and I was sitting there and I remember I was hanging out with a couple cousins and they had been training. And it was a Saturday, I think. And one of them goes, "Come on, we're going to the dojo." And I remember I was smoking cigarettes at the time and I butted my cigarette. I went, "Okay." And I went down to the dojo and he goes, "Jeremy, oh my God, it's so good to see you." Because he was welcoming people in, right? And I literally threw open my arms and I said, "Teach me." And that was 30 years ago. And I'm going to see him again this week. It was it. And I had a lot of success because I just shut the hell up and did what I was told. When the teacher says do it, you go, okay. Which is funny. I tell people all the time that women traditionally learn faster than men because there's no ego. They just go, okay, I'll just do what I'm told and I'll learn the skill because the logic is in their mind. That person is the teacher. They know I'm just going to do it. And so I just said, okay, I'll just do it. And it's amazing when you're fast forward years and it'd be a mundane class of training, you'd be doing something. And then something will click and you'll go, oh, that's why he said it, 5 years ago or 2 years ago. You're like, there it is. And you go, oh, that's brilliant. Shit. Okay. And it's fantastic. So yeah, 30 years of roughhousing. So much fun.
Yeah. It's funny how those empty slots for puzzle pieces, and the whole time they're everything is laid out, but you just haven't been exposed to those puzzle pieces yet. And then, sensei says something and you're like, what are you talking about? And then a couple years later you're like, that's where the puzzle piece fits now. I get it.
And that's, further to what I was saying before, very few people will get their black belt, and the ones that do usually will quit after that.
Yeah.
Or a lot of times will start teaching, which is hilarious because they don't know what they're teaching. In our art, your first degree black belt, the name of it is Shodan, which essentially means first step. Like, it's just warming up. And those light bulb moments, you will likely not experience them, or at least not that many of them, because you just haven't put in the mileage. It takes time.
Yeah. And I mean, to get to a point of, well, kind of like you said earlier, like, it doesn't really stop. And then, you get your honorary designation as a Shihan when you get to that 15th point. But to get to a level of, call it 13 Dan, because I don't even know what the equivalent is across the board, but to say that you've gotten to 13 Dan is considerable discipline and self-mastery. And so how do you maintain that path? Because there's so many people that they're like, it sounds cool to say that I'm a ninja. It sounds cool to say that I'm good at this thing, to like kung fu, the way of whatever it might be. And it's really cool to say that, but there's so many people that are like, they won't put in the time to get that to that level of mastery where it is no longer thought. It is just presently there all the time. So what do you attribute to that self-discipline and that self-mastery?
So I got asked that question like a week ago by my uncle because he was curious. Why am I still training? Because no one else is, on the mats getting abused, after 30 years. In our dojo, I can't say worldwide, but, because we roughhouse. But for me, it's easy to understand why someone starts training martial arts because there's a reason. I want to learn self-defense so I can feel more confident about myself. I want to get in better shape, whatever your reason is, It's hopefully not some trauma that puts you there. So for me, it was the same as everybody else. I wanted to do something awesome. I was always enamored with it. I just wanted to be a ninja, the whole thing. What keeps me there are those light bulb moments. The moments where you discover that you know how to do something that you didn't know how to do, or that you can overcome a fear and still be that guy standing there. Because make no mistake, the guys that I choose to train with can absolutely beat the crap out of me. I mean, it's not, I'm going to give them a fucking handful. Like, they're going to have a hard time. And I can do the same to them. So, like, if I'm off my game, I get a scar on my head. If they're off their game, their nose gets broken. And so, to put yourself right there on the razor's edge, it takes a lot of courage to do that. But the reward, when you face that fear and you're still standing afterwards, the reward is a feeling that cannot be explained unless you've experienced it. It can't be duplicated unless you do that. There's no drug in the world that'll make you feel that level of empowerment, to feel invincible. Not to mention, that's just the physical side of it. The other thing that keeps me there is knowing that I'm being improved as a human being. So if you have the right teacher, the right leader that can instill that level of calm, which is an important topic when you're talking about combat, It has been said that the most dangerous people are usually the calmest, nicest people, and that's on purpose. You should be dangerous, but you should also be in control of it. And when you have the right leader, sensei means like man that walked before. Okay, when they can instill that in you, it's like guidance. A lot of people will turn to scripture for things like that, for guidance, to be taught. It's no different than when you're in a dojo and you have the right teacher. For my case, I definitely have that. I have more than one individual that can show me a path to improvement. Makes me a better man, makes me a better father, better husband. Knowing that I am a part of a family that is in the trenches, because there's a very very big difference between your biological family, your wife, your kids, and that family of brotherhood. That is very different. We joke all the time. We call it, the brotherhood of the ring, that sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
Fellowship. And but when you're sitting in that circle, and all of you are wearing the same uniform, you have different backgrounds, you have different last names, different experiences, in many cases, different religious and political beliefs. But none of that shit matters, because you would go back to back with that dude and fight off the horde, because you just know.
Yeah.
You have to experience it to know what the hell that is. And you don't just give that up just because you're like, oh, I got a rank. Great. Okay. This hurts. I'm going to stop. Fuck that, man. Bring on the scars. Bring on the bruises. I was training with this one dude that I train with frequently, and he's one of the toughest human beings I've ever met. Marine Corps, martial artist his entire life. He's the one that gave me the fucking scar on my head, and I broke his nose a month before that. Not that we were trying to. We joke about it. He keeps telling me it was my fault. Then that was your fault. But we were training hard one day, and then I was at home. I was working on this drawing that I'm working on right now, this piece, and I could just feel the bruises. You train long enough, your body doesn't even show the marks anymore, but they're deep in the muscle. You feel. And I texted him. I said, "Fuck, my calves feel great." And he texted back, he's like, "Mine too." And it was back and forth for about an hour of just laughing and enjoying the injuries that we just caused each other.
Yeah.
Hard to explain, man, but is it any wonder why people keep this up for life? Like, it hurts, but it's just something that just will draw me back.
I think you said it once a really long time ago, is that hearing from somebody else that you've trained with that they are in some level of discomfort is the biggest compliment that you can take.
That sounds like something I would have said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's 100% something you would have said.
Yeah. And, I was reminiscing with one of my cousins one time, and he goes, "Is this weird?" He goes, "I don't mind being hit." And I go, "Me either, Ben. Sometimes it feels good. I love that shit." I said, "But the first time," and this does sound sadistic, but the first time you connect a fist, not a gloved fist, but a fist with a human body, not in an angry way, but like in a training, fun environment, you're sparring, and just boom, and you hit them.
Yeah.
There's a sound and a feeling that is addicting. Like, I can't tell you how this still happens 30 years in. I'll be training, and I'll pop, 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 boom, and I'll move through something, I'll twist something, I'll rock them, and I will start to laugh out loud, an uncontrollable laugh, because I think to myself, I can't believe I get to fucking do this shit. Like, I can't believe I get to do this. This is so much fun. Like, I will laugh, and I'll drop something, I'll go, "Did you fucking see that shit?" And people are just laughing. And dude, why would I give that up? It's one of the funnest things I do. I take the pain with the victories, man.
Yeah. No, I remember one of the times that we were training before I moved out here, and and I caught you. I think I caught you like just on the side of the jaw, and we stopped for a minute, and you're like, "Nice." Just those moments are, funny enough. Is that whole idea of boys and playing like it doesn't really leave us because we always find different ways to play. And the rough housing is kind of like that's boys growing up being boys. Like that's literally
Oh,
a fundamental.
100%. And it's important. I've read a couple of books, and I'm fairly certain I get the author's name right. A psychologist named Steve Biddulph. I read a couple of his books, and one of them was called Raising Boys. Another one was called Manhood. And that's really what he's talking about, is the importance of allowing men and boys to be boys.
Yeah.
You know, there's he goes into it, if I remember correctly, it was a number of years ago I read it, but I remember something about how he was talking about in the way that boys develop, boys' reflexes and their um, aggression, they all develop faster than a woman do, than a little girl. Whereas a little girl, you can sit her down and say, color this. And she'll go, okay, and finish it. Whereas a boy will light it on fire because he's just like restless and wants to do stuff, you know? And it's important to actually nurture that because it's a normal part of male development. And if you take a look at all the guys out there that become problems in the community, problems in the relationship, so often they don't have an outlet.
Yeah.
Because we all get that stuff burning up inside us, frustrations of work, money, our family, whatever it is. And if you don't have an outlet for that shit, it will eat you alive.
Yeah.
You rot from the inside. And so that's why you take a look at the guy who said it. I think his name was Tim Kennedy, actually. He said that it's important to have the dangerous man is also the calm man. You know, take a look at a silverback gorilla. The little baby gorillas are poking him in the eye and they're moving him around. He doesn't give a shit. It's just like whatever, you know, poking him in the eye, that kind of stuff, pulling his hair. But that creature is capable of extreme violence.
Yeah.
That doesn't do it, you know? So take a look at two professional fighters. Just about every time they finish the fight, they embrace afterwards.
Yeah.
They hated each other going into that. The entire training camp, they're envisioning how much they hate this person. And then at the end, they hug. How do you explain that? I can fucking explain it. It's very simple. They got the beast out.
Yeah.
They let it all out. And the other person was along for the ride. That other person has the same experience. They embrace because that's the only other person in the world in that moment that knows exactly what you just fucking went through.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's war, but not just war as in you want to, like, opposing sides. It's war against all the shit that's scaring the hell out of you. Because make no mistake, we all live in fear. We all have anxiety about everything, about nothing sometimes. But then you start to worry, oh shit, shouldn't I be worried about that? We all have anger. We all have emotions. And so when you go through all that shit leading up to a match, for example, and you guys both went through it, yeah, you need to, in my opinion, you certainly need to embrace that. So that doesn't pop up somewhere else. Like you don't lose it in traffic or you don't, you know, scream at your wife about something because you got pissed off 3 weeks prior to that about some shit. Yeah.
Yeah, I've definitely said it to a whole bunch of people that don't really have a lot of experience with martial arts, and I there's a bit of a men's group that I joined in Kelowna because it's a very weird dynamic here where you've got a lot of niche communities that they don't really want to have too many outsiders to come in because everybody's suspicious of everybody else, and it's like, you know, everybody is suspicious in terms of like, well, what are you trying to get out of me? Whereas in Calgary, it's the culture is different. Like I can make friends with somebody in like 20 minutes just sitting in a restaurant and just shooting the shit back and forth. So the culture here is very different. But it took me a long time to try and make friends here. So to kind of expand on being able to make more friends and trying to just get out there a little bit more. Because I didn't want to make friends with the people in the trades. All they do is drink. So I didn't want to spend time with them that type. And so I went to this men's group and made a couple of friends. And some of them I'd already known from working in the hospitality industry and being a bartender and stuff, and just a familiar face. But one of them so they started bringing in guest speakers, and one of the recent guest speakers was he runs Toshido MMA in Kelowna. And
cool.
when the first video game of the UFC, I think it was called UFC Fighter or whatever it was called, just the video game. When you get to create your own character in the video game, you get to pick the country you're from and the place that you're from or whatever. So you've got all these places over the US. I'm from LA, I'm from New York, I train out of Florida, blah blah blah. There was only one place to choose in that video game, and it was Canada, Kelowna, and it was because of him. So
Wow.
he was the guy who put Rory McDonald on the map, and Rory McDonald's had some legendary fights. So that was one of his guys. Anyway, so yeah, like one of the guys that I knew that were in the group, he had no idea anything about martial arts, and so here we are, we're all listening to this guy speak, and so this guy I know, Jay, comes up to me and he's just like, I've never done anything like this. Like, what's this all about? And I said, if you want to be part of a community that is filled with people that could kill you but love you simultaneously, it is literally the greatest community you could ever find yourself a part of, because not only are you learning how to defend yourself, defend others you care about, you're learning to hurt other people. Yes, that comes with quote unquote the job, but you're also learning from other people that are desiring the same thing. And that sense of community is incredibly powerful and grounding, because they'll keep you in check physically and emotionally.
I can attest to that.
Yeah.
For sure they will.
Yeah.
I think that's probably one of the best explanations I've ever heard. So yeah, you nailed it. 100%. And the other thing that popped up when you were saying that, another thought is that depending on what martial art, so mine is a Japanese based martial art, Japanese origin. So there's tradition, there's etiquette. I'm not just studying ninjitsu, I'm also studying other martial arts, but ninjitsu, I mean, there's formality. There are titles. You pay respect to your dojo. There's certain things you say. There's, before every time we bow in, you say, Chi Hayaburu Kame no Oshie wa Tokushie ni Karashiki Kokoro Miyamoto Ran Shiken Haramitsu Daikomyo. And what that essentially is saying is that you are opening up your heart to allow God, in a sense, and the great spirits to give you knowledge and patience and perseverance. And I mean, it's a Buddhist mantra. It's been interpreted in multiple different ways, but so someone might be like, that's not what it says, but it's essentially what it says. And so at the end of the day, you're literally welcoming in good while simultaneously learning how to destroy. Everything. It seems like the Japanese do that a lot, right? Everything has to be balanced. And I think that that's important. And it's exactly what you said. You sought out a community that you sought out like-minded men in a community that was essentially foreign to you. You don't know any of these guys, and all of a sudden, you're now speaking the same language, and it's a language that not everybody can speak, and that's another reason why I freaking love it. I was walking the dog yesterday, and a car slowed down, window open, the guy's playing music, and he's giving me one of these, and it was my cousin. And I actually phoned him, and I said, you know how much I fucking love that can happen in my neighborhood? I had a couple cousins, and I said, at any given time in my neighborhood, if I'm in the shit, I can make a phone call, and I can have two cousins show up that are both fucking trained. I said, there's ninjas in this neighborhood. Not to mention, I can make another phone call, and there's another fucking ninja in the neighborhood, also happens to be a cop. But I know that dude too.
Yeah.
And I love it. I live in a ninja neighborhood. I think I think that martial arts is, it's going to be difficult for me to try to explain, but the lessons that I've learned in the dojo and on the mats, whether they were spoken word or they were, you got beat up, whatever, or you had a success. The lessons that I've learned have absolutely translated into every other part of my life. 100%. The moment I wake up, my first thought is systems check. I'm switched on. I'm older now, so it's like, fuck, what hurts? But, you get up and you're like, okay, I fell asleep, so I must have twisted my ankle, And so I wake up and I go, okay, yeah, that's fine. But it's a systems check. And I go, okay, I'm switched on. And here we go. It has infiltrated my love and passion for fitness. It has infiltrated the way I conduct myself as a father, the way I pursue my career as a paramedic, as an artist. The artwork that I do now, for people watching, well, they won't know, but I just mentioned that I'm drawing. Well, you know what I'm drawing, but other people won't know. I can't finish one of those drawings in a single sitting. I have a drawing upstairs that took me 11 months to finish.
Yeah.
And I approached it. The reason why it took me that fucking long is because, one, I wanted to see, okay, how good are you really? So I tested myself. I gave myself no deadline. And I sat down, and every single time I put pencil to paper, I said, do the very best you can do in this moment. Okay? Well, that fucking drawing won me a citywide art contest, and my brother wants to buy it off me, but he can't have it. Love him, too bad. And I jokingly call it the white whale, because it's just, that was what, let's see what I can really do. The fact is, I approached every single moment the way a samurai might, in the pursuit of perfection.
Mm-hmm.
What's the very best you can do? Every time I go to work, every patient I have, they don't always require high level or high acuity, is the word, treatments and therapies. They don't all do that. Sometimes I'm just picking somebody up off the ground. But every time I approach my day, I try to do it the best I can do. I try to do everything the best that I can do. Because then that way, when I go home, I'm never going to question, did I fuck up? Did I make a mistake? Or did I miss something? Nope. I can rest easy. I tell people all the time. I had a student the other day, and she's just a baby, with the beginning of her career. And I said to her, and I learned this from one of my instructors. I said, if you can think about it, you should probably be doing it. So my instructor told me that, and I cursed her afterwards because it's like, fuck, Mary, she's a legendary paramedic. And I go, now I'm hearing that in my head at home, right? I will reach out to you because it pops in my head. I'll go, you know what? I'll stop what I'm doing and I'll reach out. Or I'll stop what I'm doing and I'll make a phone call to somebody. Or I'll do the thing. You know that concept of no time like the present? Same concept. If it pops in your head, you should be doing it. And the reason why is because somebody somewhere put that information in your head in reference to my job. You get trained a certain way, so fucking do it. You want to know what a therapy or a test is all about? Go check. Do it. Don't be fucking lazy. If it pops in your head, geez, I should probably, I don't know, work out today. Fucking do it right now. And it's been invaluable. And so the amount of time that I've spent on the mats and martial arts or bowing to the shrine 100% has molded the human being that I am today. To tell you the truth, I don't think I can stop training martial arts because it's in my head. It's a part of my soul. I fucking love this shit, but that's a bonus. The fact is, I couldn't stop if I wanted to. I'm just going to be a walking, talking billboard for getting people to start. I'll jack people up. I'll get them so excited about it because it's amazing. It has literally changed my life.
Yeah. It's that it's that infectious energy when you love something as much as you do, and that you want to share it in some way, shape, or form. Whether it's, if you want somebody to get into painting, and you've been painting for 40 years. Just talking about the excitement of that one thing that you love so much, and to get it to a point of inspiring others, just to show up, not even to get to the same degree of mastery, but just to show up. Showing up is like
100%.
80% of the fight, pun intended. But I mean, it's like just showing up, just getting them through the door, just to put the first foot forward, whether it's learning how to paint, whether you're going to a martial arts class, where you're going to the gym for the first time, or picking it back up, whatever it is, just got to show up. And that's a huge part of the balance. That's why so many people struggle with things like indecision and procrastination and laziness. And to a certain degree, I don't know if it's just procrastination and laziness. I think to some degree it's also being uninspired. And to be inspired by somebody who loves something as much as they do, that is a gift. That is a true gift.
I think so. And, there's a Japanese proverb that talks about how you can't climb a mountain without taking just a single step. And it's just the truth, right? You said it right there. You said you got to show up. Have you ever heard that thing where it says you do 19 minutes of something per day? 19 minutes. That's it. And at the end of the year, you will be better than 95% of the people on the planet at that thing. 19 minutes is fucking nothing, man. It's nothing. You burn 19 minutes playing on your phone. I definitely burn more than 19 minutes playing on my phone.
I think everybody does, yeah.
So, and so you take a look at it like that. It's just, if you can meet somebody that can inspire you that way, great. Most people won't, and they have to try and seek that out and find it. But if you're unhappy, if you are struggling, if you are anything, change your fucking view, change your perspective, change the clothes you're wearing, and you will feel differently.
Yep.
I'm fortunate enough to be still excited about the things that I'm into, and I was fortunate enough to be raised by a man who is a very, very honest, very strong, very independent man. And watching him conduct his way through life, I can absolutely see the influence, because I do that. He told me once years ago that you can't teach leadership. You can do leadership courses, there, all that kind of shit. You can teach some leadership techniques, but true leaders are born. Now, the interesting thing about true leaders is that they can see another one in the crowd. They can spot their own. They can sniff them out and go, that person is a leader, a real leader. And I thought that was really neat. And he told me that in reference to a moment that he saw in me when I was a child. Now, the interesting thing, looking back as an adult now, did he see something? Probably. I can tell you that the instance he said he knew, but a real leader would have recognized potential and would have planted the seed of a future leader. And so I went, oh, that's brilliant. And that's what a good parent, and I'm a father, so I can speak on that behalf. That's what a good father should do. You're not your kid's best friend. You're not. You are their leader. You're the commanding officer. You lead, and the best way to teach them is to lead by example.
Mm-hmm.
And I teach so many people this. I ask people at work, I say, how do you get, everybody wants respect from their peers, right? And I think this is a wonderful opportunity on this forum to be able to get it out to more people. Everybody wants respect. They want respect from their peers, their family, their friends, whatever. And so I challenge them. I go, how do you get respect? And people always say, oh, you got to earn respect. And I go, how do you do that? I go, how many emergency calls do you have to take? How many cardiac arrest patients do you have to have? How many push-ups do you have to do? What's the number? How do you earn respect? and they stammer because they weren't expecting that. I said, let me put it this way. You know, you can't command respect. Lonnie, fucking respect me. You're going to be like, pound sand, you know? I go, okay, so I can't command respect. Ooh, I demand respect. You better fucking respect me. Why? I respect you. What have you done? What have you done to earn my respect? So you can't command and you can't demand. And you can't even earn respect because there's nothing you can do that's so significant that everybody's all of a sudden going to respect you. There's only one way to get the respect of your peers, and it is to give them respect first. You have to give respect without any expectation of reciprocation. You have to say, brother, you're killing it. And then all of a sudden they start going, fuck, I like that guy. Why do I like that guy? They don't even know why. And that's what leadership is. You give them respect. The finest leader I've ever seen is my stepdad, and he's the one that raised me. That man is unbelievably accomplished. U.S. military, captain of 82nd Airborne, Army Ranger and Special Forces, Vietnam vet. Doesn't tell anybody a fucking thing about it. I said, why not? He says, they wouldn't understand, son. And that guy did all kinds of unbelievable shit in the business world. Led major things. And he always gave credit to his people. He knew the names of the guys parking the cars. He knew the names of the guys that did the most meaningless job. And he'd go, hey, how are you? By their first name. How you doing, Tom? Good to see you. We're very proud of you. We're very proud of you. You do great work here. I would walk along and like just soaking that up. That's how you do it. So guess whose boys get to see it now? The dude bagging your groceries is past retirement age, and he has that job because he can't fucking afford to live without working. So he went and got a job bagging groceries, and the dude's shaking because he's fucking old, and you can tell that he's struggling with figuring out how the fucking computer works. You know it. And I remember I walked past him, I stopped. My boys were still pretty young. I said, just a minute. And I turned back and I went to the guy and I said, I shook his hand. I said, you're doing a fantastic job. Thank you very much. And he goes, oh. And then he says, I really wish, management knew that. And I said, well, it's a shame that they don't. You're doing a great job. And I walked away. I know my boys were watching, but the lesson was for the boys.
Yep.
The next gen, right? You're not your kid's best friend. You're your kid's fucking teacher. You're the one that has to show them. You're literally, as a parent, you are their first teacher, and you will be their most significant teacher because it's such a long period of time.
Yeah.
And the only way to show them that, to teach them that, is to fucking show them. Period.
What do you think is like one of the best lessons that you could impart to your boys? I mean, because you got two sons. They're growing up in a very different world now, with all the different things that they're exposed to. The list is considerable. Because we grew up in a very different time. But what are some things that you're trying to impart to them that is like simple? These are foundational things, but like the simple things that you're trying to teach your boys to take with them.
So I want my boys to understand everything that we've been talking about. So what it is to give respect, what it is to be strong, be capable of the violence, so to speak, but to not need to. I tell people all the time, I get along with people all the time. I have a wide circle of people whom I would consider friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, boys, the reason why people like me is not because I'm good at shit or I'm this or I'm that. I said, I make them feel good about themselves. That's why people like me. It's simple. It's like being the captain of the hockey team, You're not the best player on the fucking team. You're just the guy that people like, And I try to teach them, I teach them to be good men. Well, what the fuck is a good man, right? A good man is a person that is capable of extreme events, leadership, honesty, integrity, but then doesn't always do it, but always tries to make sure that he left the place he's in better than when he found it. So how do you teach that, right? It's crazy. I remember saying my wife was pregnant with our first, and I remember having thinking about it for all the time. How am I going to teach them this lesson? How am I going to teach them that lesson? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? And almost at the end of the pregnancy, it hit me. Well, where the fuck did you learn it? And that's when it clicked. I watched my stepdad do it. I watched my dad do it, you know? So it's a very difficult question to answer. I want to teach them integrity. I want to teach them bravery. That's a big one, because bravery isn't just about storming the fucking beach at Normandy. Bravery is, you know what? I'm afraid to step up in front of the class and do my presentation, but I'm gonna fucking do it anyway. You know, my kids are both into music, and they're both in the music programs at school, which is incredibly valuable. And they will get up there and perform, and they'll perform solos. And it's like, attaboy, because that shit is scary. I remember I did it. It was scary as fuck, but the feeling afterwards, that's the thing I'm talking about, right? Facing the fear. That's probably the number one thing I would teach my kids, is that no matter what the situation or circumstances, the fear is going to be present. Fear of failure, fear of the unknown. But fucking do it anyway.
Yep.
Step up to the plate and swing without knowing you're going to hit that ball. You know, there's a million analogies. When I was in Japan in 2003, I watched 4 guys take the 5th degree black belt test I was mentioning, and 4 guys pass it. My heart was punching its way through my chest as I was watching them do it. I knew I wanted to do it. I wasn't necessarily skilled enough, like I still had a lot to learn, but I didn't know when the next time I was going to get back to see Hatsumi Sensei. So then he goes, anybody else? Anybody else? And I'm thinking, oh, should I do it? Should I do it? Should I do it? If I don't do it today, I can do it in a week. I'm still here. Okay, I can do it next Saturday. Blah, 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 blah. And the test is that you have to kneel facing the other students. So in my case, there were about 90 people there. And Hatsumi Sensei stands behind you, and he takes a sword off of the wall. And the sword is a stick that's been decorated. At one point, I think it was an actual sword, but it's a decorated stick. And then what he does is he raises the stick up, and what's called daijodan. So it's above his head, downward strike. And then he waits, however long he wants to wait. Usually it's only like a minute, less than. But he taps you on the shoulders like you're being knighted, top of the head, and he raises it up. You can't see him. You can't smell him. Can't really hear him. You can't hear him at all because he doesn't move. And what he's doing is he's gathering himself to project what's called the Saki, which is the killer intent. S-A-K-K-I, Saki. And in a sense, he's trying to push you out of the way. And you have to be sensitive enough to pick up on it. So what then he does then is he brings that down hard, and you have to move out of the way. And you have to sense it. And I was fucking terrified, but I knew I wanted to try. And I use this story for the boys all the time. So I was sitting there shaking, thinking like, fuck, am I going to do this? I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And one of my instructors, he's a Daichi hand. His name's Detlef Osterman. He slaps me on the back. I just whack. And I go, what? And he goes, get up there. And I go, okay. I just needed that, man. And so they start going, one more. And he goes, one more, with a very heavy Japanese accent. And so I walk up and he points at the ground. You know when you've got so much adrenaline pumping through you that you're just vibrating? So I'm kneeling and I'm just like this. I'm jittery. I can't control it. And I've got my eyes closed and I'm looking like this. And I flinch because it was involuntary and I slapped the ground because I'm kneeling like this. And I stopped myself. And when I did that, I was calm. And I told myself, win or lose, I'm fucking going for it. So I'm either going to pass this and look awesome, or I'm going to fail it in spectacular fashion.
Yep.
Which is to say, I'm going to move out of the way. He hasn't moved. So I'm sitting there, and I felt that uncomfortable feeling like I don't like him being back there. Something's too close. It's inside my personal bubble, and I'm going for it. And I was the only guy that actually did a dive roll. Like I was fucking gone. I told myself, I'm going for it. Big. Because the other guys kind of went like this, right? I was fucking gone. And when I looked back, the stick was to the ground and he goes, very good. And I was like, what? And then, of course, I lost my shit with my friends and family. And this isn't the toot your own horn story. This is, man, I could have failed that motherfucker hard. I could have failed it huge. But I want my sons to embody that same mentality that who gives a shit if you fall? You know, who cares? I have a tattoo in Japanese says Nanakoro Oki, and it means 7 times fall down, 8 times get up. Not 1 time, 7.
Yeah.
Like you have a lot of falling to do, boy. Get your ass back up. And that's it. Whatever happens, kids, whatever happens, boys, whatever life throws at you, you get your ass back up. You take that shit on the chin, you dust yourself off, and you go, yeah, fuck it. I took that same mentality into my paramedic training. They used to joke and call me the example guy because they were like, we need a volunteer. I'm like, I'll do it. So I'm like, you're the example guy. So I'd be strapped to a board, or I'd be, hooked up to electrodes. I was like, let's go. Let's do this shit.
Yeah, just hit me with the just give me a zap.
Yeah.
Hey,
okay, let's go. Oh, I didn't like that one.
Yeah, what's that saying is do the thing you're scared shitless of and you get the courage and bravery after?
Love it. I tell people all the time, everything in my life that I'm the most proud of scared the shit out of me before I did it.
Yeah.
Everything. There are times when I sit here and I have a lot left to do, believe me, and a lot left to learn. And but there are times when I think back to where I am, and I think back to how I got here, and I have these milestones. We all do. I'll be driving around the city because I grew up here, right? So I have all these memories of places in the city. I can drive downtown and remember skateboarding at that spot, or standing at that bus stop. And I imagine me standing there 30 years ago and looking and seeing this version of me walk by. There's no way in hell I could have envisioned this is where I'd be.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Well, you forget paramedic and shit, let it be involved. Fuck, I didn't know that. Like, you just don't think about stuff like that. And so you just look and you, wow, that is kind of a cool thing that I did. And it's nice. I hope people have those moments. And it's not like Jeremy's so great because I got so much shit wrong. I got more shit wrong than I ever got right. And that's the lesson. The things that I got right, I'm proud of because I really wanted them, but I got a lot of shit wrong before I got that. I failed way more times than I ever succeeded.
Yeah.
And that's a lesson I want to teach my kids.
Yeah. How many times does a baby fall down before they actually learn how to walk? You don't see them being like, oh, this isn't for me. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm just going to quit. No, and I think for me, the successes that I've had 100% were because I surrounded myself with people that are better than me. I still do. The guy I was telling you about that I train with, that son of a bitch is good. He's a hell of a practitioner. And, I have lots of stories like that with people that I know that are very, very good at what they do. And I hope, and I like to think that they're better than me. Because if I can just get a little bit of this and a little bit of this to improve myself, great. But you're never going to improve who you are unless you do the thing that scares the shit out of you.
Yeah.
You try the thing you don't know how to do. All the time that happens. And so that's, what do they say? If you're the smartest man in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Yeah. Yeah. You're the sum of the people you surround yourself with. And if you're the smartest one, yeah, pick a different crowd.
And you said before, it's humbling, right? When you meet people like that. And I think it's good. If you're ever sitting there thinking like, okay, I'm done, I finished the job, I don't think that's a healthy place to be. It's nice to feel successes, right? It's nice to have that, I won this, I won that, I achieved this. Yeah, it's great. We love that shit, But you're better served to remain almost in a deficit, to remain in that place where you don't know what the fuck you're doing. And I find that all the time when I'm training. Because I said, I train with the guys that know more shit than me and will clock me if I'm not paying attention.
Yep.
Fuck, they'll clock me if I am paying attention. But if I'm standing with these dudes or I'm training with these dudes, and it's frustrating as hell because you feel like none of your shit works. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know. You're not getting this right. You're not getting that right. What the fuck is wrong? It's frustrating. But if you embrace that, you say, nope, it's okay. It's okay. You will be blown away at what you actually did pick up. And that's one of the reasons why I keep doing what I'm doing. It's funny. It's like, you go train with one of these guys, it just tunes you up. There's so much more than you. And then you are frustrated, sometimes probably down on yourself. And then you go train with someone else and just fucking ragdoll them. And you're like, whoa, I didn't know I could do that. Yeah. It's like, well, yeah, you leveled up. When I started training, sure enough, it wasn't very long before they found out my last name was the same as the sensei. And guess what? I got challenged all the time. It's exactly what was predicted. It definitely happened. Yeah. And you know what? Thanks, boys. You fast-tracked my training because you forced me to be in that position. You forced me to be like, okay, man, put your money where your mouth is. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
And so, I started beating everybody because I was faster than them. It was simple, And then I started training with other guys that were just as fast. Ooh, shit. Okay. And then so I started beating everybody because I built muscle. Now I'm stronger than them. Oh yeah. And just start training with guys that are just as strong or stronger. And now you're not winning anymore. And so what's the next one? Okay. My skill was better. So I beat people because I could connect the dots faster. This doesn't work, do this. This doesn't work, do this, And all of a sudden I started beating everybody again. And now I'm training with guys that can do the same fucking thing. And oh shit, that's not working. So then the next step, and this is for other people, I learned is how do you defeat a guy, an opponent that is just as fast, just as strong, and just as knowledgeable as you? How do you do that? Strategy. So then you have to change the way you approach it, the way you look at it. And be very careful not to go down a rabbit hole of talking about martial arts in that way, but our martial arts so often is taught, let me scratch that, most martial arts are taught defensive first. Guy attacks, you do a thing.
Yep.
Right. So then you get a black belt in guy attacks, you do a thing. That's great. And then you quit training. Well, you didn't learn the other side of that coin. You didn't learn the other side. What do you do when you're training two equally skilled guys are pitted against each other? I'm not giving you shit. I'm not giving you shit because I know you're going to beat the crap out of me if I throw a punch at you.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with that? Well, I learned after about, 10 years of training, I got real good at defending myself. But I realized I did not know how to attack people. And so then I spent the next 15 years studying that, attacking people, attack strategies, boxing, Jeet Kune Do, the offensive side of ninjutsu. And it opened up a whole different realm. And that's when I started to really connect the dots. I go, oh, that's why he said to do the skill that way. I get it. And the skill doesn't have to be done step 1, step 2, step 3. Sometimes it's going to be step 3, step 1, step 2.
Yeah.
Sometimes it might not even have a step 2. It might just be bing, bing, because that's what happens. Only way you're going to learn that is to go up against someone who's better than you. You're forced to figure it out. Then you have those moments. You have, different levels of forms, beginner level forms, intermediate level forms, and high level forms. The beauty of this is the high level forms are not step 1, step 2, step 3. They're right in the middle of the fight. Not the defensive side, not the offensive side. They're right in the muck. That's where those are studied. That's fucking brilliant. Because of course that's the problem, the core of the problem solving is figuring that part out. Take the same thing apply to everything you do, whether it's parenting, whether it's your job. The highest level of knowledge is when you're stuck in a problem. Because it's inevitable. You're going to run into shit in every profession, in every situation in the world. You're going to run into problems. That's when you bring on the expert, right? The expert's, he's done it so many fucking times that he knows shortcut. It's like that thing, you get paid for what you know, not what you do.
Yeah. Yeah.
It took you 40 years to be able to do it in 20 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the complaint we hear about plumbing. We go to a house and they're like, but I looked up this part online and it's like $40. Why are you charging me $600 to fix it? It's like, well, do you want me to break down the years of experience and why I can do this in 15 minutes and it's going to cost you $600? It's the same thing. Is you're either going to spend the time to put in and gain the skill to do that thing, or you're forking over money for it.
100%. When I started training, at the beginning of our conversation today, I told you I went to my uncle and I said, teach me. And I just did whatever the fuck he told me to do. Because he'd already put in the hours.
Yeah.
He put in the time. And I'm still training with him, which is a really fun experience because now you're both progressing like this. So he's literally teaching me lessons that he's learned along the way.
Yeah.
And I'm now learning and going, oh, sensei doesn't mean guy that went to the end and stopped. It just means man who's gone before. So you're still fucking going before. You're still walking. It's brilliant. See, levels and the depth to which you can apply martial skills and lessons to your daily life is endless.
Yeah.
You drop something on the floor. You drop into a posture to pick it up. The reason why you dropped in that posture is because structurally it is sound. It keeps your body safe. You're not hinging in the middle. That's a physical thing. If someone road rages you and you don't follow them and pull them out of the car, probably a good thing. You can. I can't tell you how many times I've wanted to pull someone out of the car and just taught them why you shouldn't do that. And then I think, what the fuck are you doing, man? You could get in a lot of shit for that. Don't do that shit. And besides, you don't need to know. And then you move on. I use my lessons in problem solving all the time. In conflict, certain ways you approach things. In a lot of martial arts, energy is met with energy. Things like, karate, whatever. Yep. It's very linear pathway, whereas other martial arts, like a kung fu, like a ninjitsu, energy is passed. You do not stay. You actually move with that person. Aikido is a great example, using that
redirection. Yeah.
Exactly, redirection. And so you can absolutely use these skills to negotiate everyday life, challenges that you have. If you're met with a problem and you are conflicted about it, if you remain on that line, you're not going to get anywhere and you're going to exhaust resources, time, energy, money, I mean, those are all the most valuable things we have. Right? Why don't you fuck around and waste them? But if you sidestep that particular conflict and attack it from a different angle, oftentimes you'll find it either resolves itself or it's a hell of a lot easier. And sometimes that may mean you have to swallow whatever fucking pride you have. Right? No, I'm right. No, I'm right. No, I'm right. You can be right or you can be happy. What the fuck do you want? So move out of the way, allow that shit to pass, approach from a different angle, and it could be argued, did you really lose? Probably not. You just beat it from a different angle, a weak spot. Well, that's essential martial arts. That's martial arts 101. Attack the weak side. That's fucking Sun Tzu. That's old.
Yeah. It's, well, I mean, that's part of the reason why they call it an art, is because it is formless with form. It's making the intangible tangible, and that's to say that it can transfer to all those different aspects of your life. I mean, you summed it up. You can either be happy or you can be at peace. Or you can either win or be happy, or however many different types of ways you want to put it is, it is a direct translation to life. Like, I mean, how many different martial arts have said that the lotus flower rises from struggle, dirt, grime, the darkness, all the places you don't want to be. And in order to get beyond that, you have to fight. And I mean, that's why so many martial arts have used life as the example and as the philosophy behind what they teach. It's prevalent. And then here we are finding ourselves applying that to, say, our marriage or our relationships or our job or whatever. It is literally the same applications, just in a different context. And you summed it up really well with, you can either be happy or you can be right, or you can be right or you can be happy. And like, because how many years have you been married now?
28.
28. There's so many people can't even get past 2. So 28's a hell of a milestone. So, I mean, you've taken a lot of these martial lessons to your job, to your life, and I would assume that you apply a lot of them to your marriage as well. How do you find the balance in your marriage on top of, because you're such a busy guy, and putting in 800 hours into one piece of art, or 11 months because you didn't want to have a time frame, you just wanted to do that thing. So, like, and that takes a lot of patience and discipline and dedication and time to that thing. So, how do you balance out all these other things in your life and then also maintain a great marriage with your wife?
So it helps to marry the right person. But having said that, every relationship in the world, there are going to be challenges, make no mistake, marriage is work. It is work, but it's work you like doing. And the work is, how do you continue to thrive when it could be argued nothing new is happening? You're in a routine, right? Same person you see every day, that sort of thing. So I'll tell you how you make a marriage last this long. Okay? There are 4 simple rules. The first one is brutal, necessary honesty. Boundary setting, essentially. No, I can't do that for you. I love you. I'm sorry. And as a man, that's particularly difficult because we're bred in a lot of ways to be a protector, provider, right?
Yeah.
Depending on which culture or which area of the world. But I'm here in Canada. That's how it's raised. So brutal honesty. No, I don't like that thing. It's unhappy. It makes me unhappy, etc. Sometimes it's necessary. Brutal honesty, right? The second one is self-love. Take pride in your appearance, whether it is getting your hair done, not in my case, lifting weights, doing whatever it is to make you like you. If you like you, it's infectious. They will like you. I'm not saying you have to be fucking runway ready, but make a fucking effort. Do something for yourself. That's rule number 2. Rule number 3 is support whatever the hell they're into. Who gives a shit if collecting Pokemon cards is their favorite fucking thing in the world? Artwork, martial arts, lifting, whatever it is. You support that shit because you want them to come to you first when they're excited about something. You want to be their cheerleader.
Yep.
Right? Support the shit out of that. You may hate that shit, but who cares? Fake that, right? And the 4th one is filthy, dirty sex. Quite frankly, it's the kind of intimacy that ties back into rule number 1 when they say, you know what are you into? And you go, my heart's racing, but I'm going to say to you straight up, this is who I am. Literally bearing my soul. And they go, okay. There's nothing more incredible in the world. You love this person. They trust you. They make an effort, so they're attracted to you, attracted to themselves. They are excited to share things with you, and they want to hear about your fucking day, and they're excited. And then on top of that, you guys connect on a physical level. Fuck, man. You will forget what every other human being's face looks like. There's nothing better. So you're not always going to check all 4 of those boxes, right? Sometimes only 3 of them are going to be checked. But the work part is working at trying to check those boxes.
Yeah.
Lots of little things along the way, like don't go to bed mad. Yeah, it's good advice. But sometimes you're going to go to bed mad. But if you come back and you say to them, I'm sorry, even if it kills you to say it, fucking say it. Do the thing that scares you. Do the thing that frustrates you. It's like guerrilla warfare, right? Take the enemy's strengths and use them against you, that kind of thing. Quite frankly, be a man. Stand the fuck up, go to them and say, I apologize. I am sorry. This is not what I meant to say. It's amazing how far that will go. And are you really losing? You're not, because it's not a fucking battle. You might have lost the battle, but you're not going to lose the war. Because at the end of the day, this is longevity. This is the person you theoretically chose to be with and want to be with. So that's how I do it. That's how I approach. And I can tell you, I love this woman more now than I ever have. And I'm more attracted to her now than ever. The challenge you have with people is that you cannot change a human being. You can say, I'll do this for you. I'll help you along the way. Let's go. You can do it. It doesn't fucking matter, right? You can have someone, a very common one is people are dissatisfied with their physique. So they're like, I need to lose weight or something, right? And then you have this other person who's like, oh, I'll help you with the diet plan. Let's go to the gym together. We'll do a run together. And the person's just, I just don't want to do it. I just don't want to do it. Yeah, let's do it, right? And so then that person just gets frustrated. They bent over backwards for this other person. They've gone to extreme lengths. And then one day, that person just sits on the couch, fucking rainbow. They see it off in the distance. A butterfly lands on the windowsill, and they go, you know what? I'm going to get in shape. And all of a sudden, they just dedicated to it. The other person goes, are you fucking kidding me? All the shit that I did for you, and you didn't do it? And they're like, no, I am inspired. If it wasn't for that butterfly, I never would have done it. The other person goes, fuck you, man. You know what I did for you? You can't change people. So just recently, I read a book literally called Acceptance. And that's about accepting the flaws or the things that you can't change. I absolutely apply that to my marriage as well. Because for sure there are things my wife does that I can't stand. 100%. I'm sure there are things that I do that she hates. There are things that I wish she would do differently or not do at all. And they used to frustrate me. Admittedly. Drove me fucking crazy. I read this book, and it's not telling me anything I don't already know. We all know this. but they said it in a different way. And I realized, you know what? You can't change her. This is who she is. So take the good with the bad. Which one outweighs the other one? The interesting thing is then I go to my wife and I say, you know what? I apologize for getting frustrated with you for XYZ. I understand that that's just who you are. You do those things because that's who you are. And I love you. And I do accept you for who you are. We fought. She got mad at me because the way she was interpreting that was, I'm settling. And I said, well, remember rule number one is honesty, right? And I said to her, well, yes, you are responsible for this because you are the one who is holding us back in this area because you're in the stick in the mud, whatever, stubborn. I said, it is you. There's no denying it. But I'm telling you, I'm not getting angry about it anymore. I'm letting that shit go. I'm going to just accept it. And Lonnie, guess what happens? After a short period of time, she decided, you know what? I'm going to now do whatever that was. And it's like, of course you are. And it's funny, but I just go, hey man, you can't control people. You just gotta let them be who the fuck they are. But here's the epiphany that I had. I accept her for the way she is. She has to accept me for the way I am.
Yep.
And I'm not going to change who I am. That's that brutal honesty, right? That's why it's rule number one.
That's that greater balance of. It's a fine line to walk between equality and accountability and all the other abilities that we find in our relationships, because there's just so many, and with the complexities and the ease of indulgence and speed of convenience to many facets of our lives, especially in relationships, it's good to have a guideline, and it's good to have the rules of the game that you create yourselves and build yourselves, and then just follow these rules, and we are going to be good forever and ever. And not everybody has rules, boundaries, or like they don't have an outline to follow. And I think that's something that martial arts teaches you, is it helps you build and shape who you want to be, but then it also gives you some guidelines to follow, which you can apply to literally anything. And I've talked to a couple of martial artists, and it's a running theme.
It's the discipline element of it. It applies to everywhere. But the thing is, it shows you that you are a part of something bigger than yourself. And if you can prostrate yourself and humble yourself in front of someone and trust their guidance, then you will be all the better for it. It's the way human beings work. Ancestor taught me this. Grandfather taught me this. Grandmother taught me this. Shit, man. You're Italian, known as the one with all the Italian recipes that kept the family alive. It's everywhere. And why should that be any different in a marriage? You have to tell your spouse exactly who you are and what you are, but I'm putting myself out there 100%, right? I'm opening the floodgates, and this is who I am. And if they also adhere to those rules, I call them rules, but call them tenets if you want. Call them pillars. Doesn't matter. But if those 4 guidelines, if you try and adhere to those, then you guys will be on the same page.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, those are my rules. I made those up because it was what I needed. Listen, I tell my students at work, my colleagues at work, you always check the equipment in the morning if you have time. Well, you never have time, but there's certain equipment that I will always check without fail. And I tell people, you check the stuff that burns you on a call. The defibrillator paddles didn't fucking connect. Shit. Well, when you're pulling those out, you need them to work. There's no crap. So we carry a couple pairs, but if you plug stuff in and it doesn't work, there you go. So from then on, you're going to check. it's this same with life. You know, we start to conduct ourselves through our daily life based entirely on our experiences and wants, I suppose, but on our experiences, the way we get up in the morning and we move, the way we prepare shit is because we experienced something, either liked it or disliked it, kept it or threw it away, constantly, right? And I deal a lot with people that have depression and anxiety. I don't know if that's a question that you would have eventually gotten to, but depression and anxiety is prevalent in my profession. And the way I look at it, because I felt that shit too, not depression, but I've definitely felt anxiety and experienced what a panic attack feels like. And when I first had it, it scared the shit out of me. I didn't know what the fuck it was. I'm like, what is this feeling? Well, after many books read, lots of stuff read, lots of conversations, I boiled it down to essentially it was my fear of losing control. That would bring it on. It sounds so simple when you just say it like that. But it's that whole thing, like 40 years of experience, 20-minute jobs. You have to go through that shit till you figure it out. And the reason I bring this up is because the last time I had this, I was faced with a choice, which was I can then, A, change my habits so as not to encounter that scenario again. Because the way a panic attack works is it's insidious. You're anxious all day long, and then you downward fucking spiral, right? And it just gets worse like a snowball. And so I can either A, avoid things that could potentially lead to that scenario, or change myself so that if it and when it does happen, I approach it differently. And I looked at it and I thought, well, this is harder for sure, right? You have to change the way you think. You have to learn. You have to admit you don't know what the hell you're doing, and that someone has to teach you. Well, what the fuck we've been talking about for an hour? We're talking about going to a teacher, going to a sensei, learning about things, so that you can better yourself.
Yeah.
So
mentorship.
I chose to do that. I chose to approach it, analyze it, figure it out with the help of others. And ultimately, what I learned was, oh shit, this is about me losing control. So what do? Do I plan my life so that I'm always in control? A lot of people do that. Or do I accept the fact that you're not always in control, and that's okay? Well, that's what I chose to do, and it worked. It worked. I overcame that. I believe I'm stronger for it. I'm more adaptable. Go with the flow, man. Sometimes you're not in fucking control, and it's totally fine. Okay? It's interesting. So, for what it's worth, that worked for me, and hopefully someone else will get something out of that.
Yeah, another aspect of martial arts and being in that flow state, but then simultaneously getting jarred out of it and then not being in control anymore. I think your approach to a lot of the different challenges, especially with being a paramedic, is that your approach is it's methodical, but it's also thoughtful, because you're like, how do I figure out this thing? The complexities of every call that you go on, like this is a life or death call. This is somebody's worst day, and I'm being a part of that. And if I screw up, to think that their day can't get any worse, and I screw up, that is a possibility. So, I mean, how do you find that I guess that balance, or that, because you learn a lot of lessons about life and death on the job, and so how do you how do you just kind of go through that with that day to day, because that's your shift. It's life or death for a lot of people.
Well, it is. And so how I go through that is, one, I understand that it's not my emergency. Okay? That I am not going to have all the answers. I am not going to get everything right. Sometimes you try to start an IV on somebody, you don't get it, that kind of thing. And it is, can we pause for a sec? I have to pause because my son's calling me.
Okay. We're back from from life happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so the question was just about life and death on the job, and like, how do you handle that, and lessons learned from it. And
Yes. So I always start off by remembering that it's not my emergency. So you can compartmentalize a lot better that way. But also, you earlier were talking about how we were talking about rules, and we have kind of a set pathway and that sort of thing. The same thing applies in my profession. I can remind myself, which I do as much as I can, that every patient approach is the same. Then I can treat it like it's almost you desensitize from it. Like you're going, okay, C-spine, LC, ABC, triple D, head to toe, this is what I'm doing on every single patient. Then you're realizing you're just doing the job. If you go in each time and you want to get inside their life and their emotions and what they've been through and that stuff, that will destroy you because you're now emotionally invested. I myself am a very empathetic person, so I have a natural tendency to do that. I can read people really well. It's the same concept of being around someone that's very anxious. You start feeling anxious. Someone's very angry. You start feeling angry. You don't even know why. I learned that lesson early on in my career, thankfully. I was actually a student. I was about six years in, and I was completing my education because paramedic is done in stages. You could go through all the way like a nurse does or doctor, but most often people do it in stages. And so I was doing the same thing, just get experience in one level, move up to the next, et cetera, et cetera. And I met a guy, a patient. He was about 30. He was out ice climbing by himself, fell, broke his back, broke all the stuff, and he was essentially paralyzed. And it hadn't quite hit him yet. Like the family was there, they were treating him, the whole thing. His girlfriend was there, his parents were there, etc. And so I was just assessing him and taking vital signs and stuff like that. But of course, I was chatting with him because I'm looking at this guy and going, he's a guy that likes fitness and adventure and this kind of stuff. I'm going like, yeah, I get it. And the guy looks at me and I was making him giggle and whatever, just the whole thing. And then it hit him and he goes, I'm never going to walk again, am I? And I hit me. I went, oh my goodness. And I said, I don't know, man. And I walked out. I felt myself being upset because I was imagining, what if that happened to me? And that's when I realized, oh shit, no, you can't do that. That like, nope, forget it. It's funny. I joke and I say that I have a note file. So anytime it's like in my brain, anytime I start to feel myself emotionally invested, I go, nope, forget it. Because you only have so much in the tank of empathy. And most of that should go to your family and your friends.
yeah,
And then you have a little bit left over for other people. If you chew that up, what's left? You start giving away your soul and it'll burn you out really fast. So I save my empathy for my loved ones. I'm a husband and I'm a father, and I have to be here for them above all else. So when I'm at work and I come across something really horrible, like I had a call, it was an 11-month-old drowning. And I was the boss. I was the one running that cardiac arrest. I was the one doing this, doing that. And we restarted the heart, but everybody knew that this was not going to be a lasting result because the kid had been down too long. So we did all the things that science allows us to do. And ultimately the baby died about a week later. And of course, I've got the mother in the corner of my eye. I can see the mother standing there with her 2-year-old, and she's in shock. I also find out that the dad is out of town working and now he's been informed. And I'm thinking, that's really horrible. And I feel
badly for them. But the people that I'm responsible for on my team, there were about 5 other paramedics that were there, as well as a couple of firefighters, a couple of police officers, and those are the guys that I'm responsible for. So I went to them and I said, "You did great. You did phenomenal. Welcome. You did all this. You did great. I made them feel better about themselves because those are the ones that I need to pay attention to.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to compartmentalize, or you are going to take it all on. And the other side of that, how I cope, is you have to have coping mechanisms. You have to have things that are just for you. The self-love thing I talked about before. I lift heavy weights. I study martial arts. I am an artist. These are things that are just me, that allow me to feel safe inside, allow me to feel centered, so that I can be that person for other people. And otherwise, you're going to drown.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, bad choice of words, but you're going to suffer.
Yeah, they say that in life that you should find something creative, something physical, something that is a hobby, and then something that makes you money. I think there's like anywhere between 3 and 5 different things about what you should be doing with your life and your time. And it like just you saying those handful of things, you literally have every one of those dialed in your life. And that's probably why you've lasted as long as you have in an industry that has an extremely high burnout rate and quite a bit of attrition. Because being a paramedic is, I mean, I think a lot of police officers and firefighters, first responders also have those things in their life. They have to.
I hope so. Yeah, I hope so, because they do have to. You said it perfectly. And you're right. There is a lot of attrition in the job. There aren't that many, 25, 30-year vets anymore. It's a different time. When they started, the job was different. Now it's crazy busy. There's just a bigger population, bigger need for this, bigger need for that, and it's hard to keep up. And so you're not going to get any downtime or any rest or any breaks at work. So you have to be able to create that in your personal life. And it's not fair. It isn't. But I'm not going to complain about that part of it. I know that's the case. So there's nothing I can do about that. So I just choose. Remember, I said before, you can either make a choice to change the way you conduct yourself in life. So, I'm not going to eat that anymore after 6 o'clock because this happened or that happened or whatever. I'm not, to try and avoid mental health problems or stress. I'm never going to go see that movie again because it caused me this problem. Okay. Or you can choose to change the way you approach that situation, which is to accept that it exists, but how are you going to treat it? And so I can't change the parameters within my profession. It is what it is. So I'm going to choose to change the way I approach to do the job, which is for 12 hours, I'm going to be here and I'm going to get put through my paces. But then after that 12 hours, I don't know you. Don't talk to me. And I'm going to go and get back to my life. And I try to live my life like this. I work as a paramedic. I am not a paramedic.
Yeah.
I'm proud to say that I've achieved that, but that's my job. If for whatever reason someday I go, I can't do this anymore, I hate this, then I will find a way to transition to something else. And it sounds easy. It is not. But but this is my life. I got one of them, and I want it to be long and happy. So, yeah, there might be a sacrifice there. You might have to take a pay cut. You may have to learn a new trade, a new profession. You may have to go back to something you absolutely hated doing. That's possible. But if it keeps you sane, then, knuckle up. Let's do this.
Do you have like a future exit strategy? A lot of a lot of people in the first responder industry, once they join it, like a lot don't think much more beyond that. And then they're like, this is it. This is for me. And then of course real life sets in when it's like trauma or injury or something else happens where they start to second guess of where they're at. Whereas, you have been very thoughtful throughout your choices. And just knowing what I know about you is that I would imagine that you would likely have some sort of an exit strategy to be like, okay, I know that I'm gonna do this job for between this time frame and this time frame, X amount of time, whatever that may be. Maybe it goes a little longer because I fell more in love with the job as progressed, and it became harder. And you like to do hard things, and like those are good milestones and also values to maintain. But then as you get deeper in and you're like, hey, you know what? Um, there there need there should be maybe a finish line for this so I can start something new. Have you ever thought about
Mm. Oh yeah, no, I absolutely have an exit strategy. Um, my exit strategy will be once I've gotten to a point where I have checked that box, I've fulfilled that need. Then what I'll move, hopefully, we'll be able to transition smoothly into because I've already started 20 or sorry, 30 years ago. I started, and that is when I'll open up a dojo, and that's when I will um, be self-sustaining with my artwork. And so that's something that I didn't plan on doing the artwork part until about 5 years ago, and then it just kind of fell into my lap, and it turned out to be something that's not only very therapeutic, but um, I'm passionate about. I've been an artist my whole life. I just put it on the shelf and got excited about other stuff, and so now that's resurfaced, and there's a tremendous amount of interest in it, and that's just building. At that point, I like to have those two things being able to sustain me because I do understand that my profession, like a lot of professions, um, there's wear and tear physically and mentally, and you can do it for 30 years. I'm at 17 right now, coming up on 17, and the guys that whom I admire most are the ones that are the 30-year vets, the 20-year vets, not the guys that got the job and then after about 12 years or 5 years or 3 years became a superintendent and or a boss or a trainer or something. That's their pathway. It's not mine. I don't dislike those guys. I'm just simply saying I don't look up to them. They're just guys doing a different job.
yeah.
The guys I look up to are the grizzled warriors. And for example, that expression, be weary of the old man in a profession where men die young. That's a badass dude right there. And so those are the guys I like. Guys quietly lacing up their tabby and in the corner, that sort of thing. And so that would be my exit strategy. I don't know when it's going to happen. People get the job for pretty much the same reasons. They want to do something that's exciting. They want to do something that matters. They want to do something that's different that not everybody can do. Cool. Then they do the job for a couple of years, and we talked about it before, and they realize it's really hard, on and on and on like that. So I think it's important every couple of years to check in with yourself. Check in. Is this still what I want to do? Do I still approach it with the same mentality, the same dedication? Most people will probably say no. Their reasons have changed. A lot of people are tied into that profession because it's the only thing they know, which is what you just said. But other people get tied in because there's a financial responsibility, and that's the only thing they know how to do, and they've become reliant on X number of dollars every 2 weeks. Makes it pretty hard to transition in those spots, and so those are the guys that get burnt out, and then they transition to something else. They don't want to take another call on the street, another one. For me personally, that is the job. The job is the street. The job is going to people's houses, seeing them on their shittiest day and being the guy that can sort that out to some degree. So for me, I love it. and I'll still do it. When I decide I don't want to do it anymore, then it's time.
Yeah, and it'll be on your terms.
I think so. Yeah, because I mean, I like so many people worry about things like PTSD and anxiety, stuff like that. Well, what's the point in worrying about something before it happens? I mean, you can prepare, I suppose, but can you? Because it never really happens the way you thought it was going to happen. So whatever the fuck you were preparing for isn't necessarily what you're going to have to deal with. So it's one thing to be a little bit prepared, to worry, okay, we gotta do it this way, be prepared. Yes, that will shorten your reaction time. Just like training, you're training all the time, so that when someone throws that punch, you can shorten your reaction time. You just, it's not the punch, it didn't come from exactly where you thought it was, but it doesn't matter. That part does help. I believe that. I'm an advocate for that. But something like PTSD, I've learned it's not a single event that does it. It's insidious. It's all the buildup, right? So for the people that don't have coping mechanisms, those are the ones that get nailed.
Yeah.
They go home and they sit on the couch and they watch TV. They go home, they have a drink, they sit on the couch, they watch TV. It's the same shit, because that is their life, and then they're trying to reset to get back to their life. I'm assuming. It seems to be what I've encountered. And I thought, no, fuck that. My life is here. That's my job. I will go do my job for a while, and then fuck you, I'm coming back to my life. This is what I can't wait to get back to. The secret to happiness in life is always having something to look forward to. It could be something little. That's not me. That's not my expression. That's Julia Louis-Dreyfus, believe it or not. And so it's absolutely true. It's Elaine, Elaine said it. And they go, it can be something small, like, I can't wait to hit this lifting milestone today. I love doing deadlifts. So I think, fuck yeah, today's deads. We're doing deads today. Or the drawing. Like I'm looking forward to getting back to that drawing, because I get to listen to music, zone out. I'm in my world. I get to do my thing. That's a fucking happy, safe place for me.
Yeah.
Love that shit. So again, it keeps coming back to the same thing we keep saying. You got to have coping mechanisms.
Yep, you need to have an outlet. You really do. Otherwise, you start to search for the fast food of those dopamine hits.
Yeah, totally.
Which it'll either make you fat or retarded. So you don't need either one of those things. So because you're working on a piece right now. Do you want to flip it over? Flip the camera over and show it quick?
I can do that.
How many hours are you
I'll show you what it looks like. I'm about 150 hours in.
150
Can you
hours?
see that?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's wicked.
So the story behind that is actually really right along the lines of what we're talking about. I, out of the blue, had a panic attack and didn't sleep well, woke up, couldn't see where I was. And my panic attacks are not like I can't breathe kind of thing. My panic attacks are where I feel like the walls are closing in.
Yeah.
And I am losing control. And so I felt that, and I couldn't kick it. Every time I closed my eyes, it would start, and I'd spiral every time I tried. And so this went on for a while, and it was really pissing me off because I couldn't fix it, right? And so this is what ultimately, earlier I mentioned, led me to learn that you can't fix it, but you can't prevent it. But what you can do is accept that you are not in control, and that's okay. That this feeling will pass. And it's okay to succumb, to let go, because you're going to get back up and you're going to fight again, no matter what. So throw whatever the fuck you got at me. It's not the end of the world. I'm going to get back up, dust myself off. And I did that night. That first night, I got 2.5 hours of sleep, and I still went to work for a 12-hour shift. And Yeah, it sucked, but I did it. So this drawing was inspired partly by my wife, who's an absolute beast. One of the toughest, smartest person I know. And also happens to be a Leo, figures. And so I was inspired by her, but I was also inspired by the concept that this lion, this looking directly at the camera, directly at you, kind of thing, right? This lion is saying, "I don't give a fuck. I'm immobile, or I'm immovable. Part of me. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to get back up no matter what, and I'm going to fight." And I went, "Ooh, okay. It's time to do a portrait of a lion." And yeah, that was where that came out of. And I decided, I'm giving a sneak peek here, right? I decided to make the eyes out of gold leaf,
Nice.
and that
Yeah.
was because you can see them in the dark. Like it doesn't matter. You walk in a room and you can see those eyes looking at you. So it's always present.
Yeah, the flicker of light that when you pass by it, and that glimmer off of whatever angle you're at that moment, and you see it out of the corner of your eye, that those eyes are always on you,
Mm-hmm.
no matter what.
Yeah, that's that bring it on kind of mentality. Like, you will not stop me. I'll be scarred. I get like what I talked about before. I got scars all over me, but I'm still going to get up and I'm still going to keep going. And that helped me significantly over the years, because you can't control everything. You can't stop every heartache, every failure, every time you got fired. You can't, every trip and fall. You can't. 7 times fall down, 8 times get up.
Yeah, it's funny that you say fall, because I go back to work tomorrow because I fell 5 feet. Fell 5 feet and I landed on my lower back. So I was down for 2 weeks. So
Ooh,
yeah,
that hurts.
still have bruising, still a little tight, but at least the pain has gone away. So yeah, but yeah, stuff like that. Yeah, I think about stuff like that. It's just, and I was on a call. The homeowner saw it. Our calls are like our appointments get recorded now. And it was a good thing, because then, the bosses can review it and be like, yeah, we heard the homeowner scream her bloody head off. So at the end of it, they thought it was kind of funny. It's like, yeah, I know, it's funny. Not funny in the moment, but I had to finish the appointment.
No, it's not.
So
Yeah. You have to laugh at your own pain, man. You got to laugh at your own failures.
yeah,
Otherwise, that's all you focus on. I cried. This scar that I've talked about a few times today. He was swinging a stick and he had his hand up at the same time, and I moved brilliantly out of the way of that hand, right into the line of that stick. So it was my screw up, And so now I look like Harry Potter.
well, if Voldemort comes knocking, you know what to do.
I know I actually look more like fucking Voldemort than I do the other guy. And so
Just don't get rid of the nose. It gets weird when you do that. Oh,
no, I can't do that. This nose is huge. Yeah, that's the problem, is that it's a big ass target, and it's been clocked a few times.
yeah.
But I was training one time when I was like, how old was I? I was in my 20s, and we were doing this one technique, and I'd done it a bunch of times with someone that was taller than me, and then I switched partners and I did it somebody shorter than me, and the center of gravity was different. So I tossed them up in the air, and I was on my back on the mat, and they came down head first like this, right onto the bridge of my nose. So their head hit her, and I hear this crunch, and I immediately go like this and cut my hands because I don't want blood on the mats. And by the time I walked, 10 feet, my hands were full, because if you've ever broken your nose, it's just like,
Yeah.
I'm going to date myself, but it's Army of Darkness blood, where it's just like fire hoses,
spraying out. Yeah.
And so I filled that sink up 3 times before it stopped, and I'm surprised I wasn't lightheaded. But what I did was I was playing with it like this. I was like, oh shit, it's crooked, right? And I was playing, I was pushing and pushing, and I went, oh, and I was like, that's pretty straight. And then I went back out, and me being competitive person that I am, I finished training the class. I just was like this though. I was like, you're not getting anywhere near this thing.
Yeah.
And I finished. Now, fast forward as many years, and now I'm a paramedic, thinking, "Ooh, you dumbass, that was stupid." But you're young and stupid. You don't know any better. I still have the same attitude, though. Yeah, like let's go, let's get back in there. I'm in pain right now.
Yeah.
I'm in pain all the time, and I'm still going to do some lifting later.
Yeah, you might as well get something out of it.
Yeah, what do they say? Pain is temporary, but glory lasts forever. So there you go.
Yeah. When are you gonna? So you said you're gonna work on a website for your art.
Mm-hmm.
When are you making prints? Because I fucking want one.
Okay, well, it'll be right away. So this one I'd like to finish before the end of the year for sure. Because I have another project that I'm working that I got commissioned to do that I need to get done before Christmas. So that's how quickly I'm going to work on this one. And then I'd like to build a website just so people have a single point of contact. Because right now it's Instagram and word of mouth. But I have 3, with this completed, I will have 3 prints available to launch an online platform. And I feel that feels right. I didn't want to do it with just one. I wanted to give people a choice. And so there'll be 3 different ones that people can order prints from. And there'll be limited edition prints because I want people to feel like they have invested in something that's exclusive. And I want it to be special. I don't want a million of them out there, and all signed and numbered because I think that's special. I have prints of others where, seeing that signature and knowing that that's out of only 100, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So it'll be soon. It'll be definitely soon. And we'll get one your way for sure.
I'd love one.
I think it'd be great.
Yeah.
You'll dig it.
I think one of my favorite ones that you did was the old man with the beard.
Yeah. Well, that's the white whale I was talking about. I'm looking at it right now. That one there. What the funny thing about that is that when I started it, I didn't know what I was going to be able to do, because this was the one where I thought, okay, let's see. And I can look at it, and I'm sure every artist can do this. Anybody can do this that's worked on a project for a period of time. They could look at it, reflect, and go, I remember that fucking part right there. That part caused me a problem for a week. You're like, fuck that part. Like, you just remember that. The funny thing about that, because that's no different, I can look at that and go, remember those moments. But I remember near the end of the drawing, I was over it. I was like, I was just going to complete it because that was my goal, was to complete this drawing. But the magic, the wow, it was over because it took so friggin' long.
Yeah.
And so it took a couple of years for me to take away from it and then come back and go, wow, that really is actually pretty cool. I really am proud of that. It's kind of a funny thing because that feeling is what keeps you addicted. That feeling of not knowing what you can do. Michelangelo was famous for saying that he didn't know what the sculpture was going to look like. He was going to carve it until the sculpture revealed itself. I had an opportunity to go to Italy and put eyeballs on Statue of David and the Sistine Chapel and see those things, So when I look at them, that excitement of when I'm working through my project, that middle of it, it's like, oh my God, that looks so cool. I have these moments. Oh yeah, that's what keeps me doing it. The old guy, that's the one that was selected as the winner for that contest, and I don't know if I'll go back and do one that complicated again.
Yeah,
because it was 11 months. I'm much faster than that now because I mentioned before that you never really get any better unless you challenge yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, okay. So I worked on another one and I changed the techniques. I just trusted more And I just said, I'm just going to do it. So I changed the techniques and I did it in 5 months. And it's equally as good. And so I went, whoa, okay. Okay, so there is something to this. And you're just never going to get better unless you try that thing that is really hard. This lion drawing, I've never drawn a lion before. I was like, I think I can do that. I have a friend who I met through the martial arts, but he also started an online um, company called Budo Brothers, for anybody that happens to know what it is. These two guys started it. And he said something to me the other day, and he said, build the plane as it's going down. And I thought, fuck, that is brilliant. Because we were talking, he was actually asking me, when's the website up? When's this up? When's that up? And we were filming something for their company, actually really cool martial arts stuff. Martial arts and clothing combined. So it was fun.
I have one of their jackets.
What's that?
I have one of their jackets.
Which one? The one with the shields?
No, it's the liner is the Japanese. It's that blue.
The wave pattern.
Yes, the wave pattern on the inside. It's like kimono style jacket hoodie.
Yeah, the hood gi. You got that one. Yeah, and I like that one. Yeah, it's very interesting. So this particular product that they brought out was this one's more fashion forward, and so it's a jacket, but it has carbon fiber shields in here.
Yeah,
that's right. And so we're filming that videos for that and having fun. And they were the ones that were like, "Where's your website, dude?" I'm like, "I know it's coming," and they're like, "Fucking, let's go! Like, let's go. We'll build it in a day. Let's get it done." And I thought, fuck you guys, you're right though. What did I tell you? You hang around people that are doing things you're not doing. It's the only way you're going to better yourself. That video, by the way, that they did, 7.7 million views and counting. It's hilarious.
And if they got 1% of those views to buy that jacket, that's crazy.
They sold out. They sold out in like 48 hours or some ridiculous thing. But it's just testament again to doing that thing that's scary. And I remember talking to them about it. And there were times when the company at the very beginning was suffering, failing. And they were really struggling with it, but they just kept doing it. And you never know what it's going to be, what that catalyst is that's going to spark new life into something. You don't know, right? I don't know what it was product for them, but ultimately that went as far as apparently that video was viewed by Joe Rogan and a bunch of stuff like that. Like they went that far. Yeah. And rumor is he started following them as a result of that video. And then they got, like, they branded all the way up to the UFC, which is
huge.
What? That's a huge stage. And they were nervous about it, So we're talking a lot about life and manhood and stuff like that. So many of the decisions that we make are scary. What did I say? Everything that I'm most proud of scared the shit out of me before I did it. So, Jeremy, man the fuck up. Let's go build a site, put your artwork out there. And if someone doesn't like it, who fucking cares, man? Who cares? One of the ways I deal with the stresses of my job, because you asked me that question earlier, there was a time when I found myself nervous to go to work because I didn't know, I always work with a different partner, never knew what it was going to be like. Are they going to judge me? Are they going to do this, going to do that? And it occurred to me, I thought, why am I feeling this way? Why am I anxious? Why am I nervous at work? Why? I thought, I step out into the street in my regular normal life. I'm not nervous. I'm very confident in my own skin. So what the hell, right? So then it occurred to me, why do I care about the opinion of a person I would never go to for advice? And it clicked. I thought, they're not going to come to my house and hang out. I'm never going to go to their kid's birthday party. Like, I don't, they're a person. I would treat them with respect because I believe that manners and etiquette are, as they say, manners maketh a man. I believe that is paramount above all. But if you don't like me, I don't care. This is who the fuck I am, man. I'm 46 years old. So I started doing this when I was 38. I started going, if you like me, great. I'm fun as shit. We're going to have a fun time. You're going to have a fierce friend here. If you don't like me, have a nice life. Jog on. I don't give a fuck.
Yep.
Right. So I literally will say, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck what other people think of me. This is who I am. Like me or not, I'm not fucking changing. You want to know something about me? I'll tell you. I don't care. I'm not embarrassed. I'll fucking tell you. And that's it. Because if you have surrounded yourself with the people that lift and support you, they're not going to give a shit about the stuff you're into. They're not going to care. They're going to bust your balls anyway. And that changed the way I approached my job. And I can tell you, I felt my shoulders relax. I actually thought, I don't give a fuck. I don't care if they think I'm a really good paramedic or not. I know I'm going to work hard. I know I'm going to do what the job requires of me, even if it's scary. I know I'm going to treat my coworkers with respect. So who gives a shit about all that stuff, all that stress? We carry around that stuff way too often, So it's the funny mantra, but I don't give a fuck.
It's a good one. That's
Yeah.
Most people
It's powerful.
Because I know that you're a busy guy and you should probably get back to your art piece because there's some hours to put into that. I ask everybody, this is kind of like the final question. It kind of ties everything in that we've talked about, because we've talked about a lot of different things, everything from discipline, accountability, self-mastery, ownership, legacy, family. The amount of stuff that we've covered is considerable, and I hope it gives a lot of people something to chew on and to be inspired by. But some people get stumped with this question because it's big, but it's also like thought provoking, because no answer is going to be the same, and and there's no wrong answer, which is part of the reason why I like the question. So, in your opinion, why do men matter?
That was a good one. I think men matter because they are the balance to the equation. You have significance on one side. You have compassion, strength, courage, everything that's wonderful about women and the feminine. Everything that's beautiful and soft and creative. But you need to have a balance to keep everything in nature cohesive. And the balance needs to be, in a lot of ways, stoicism, bravery, strength. You can have all those on both sides, of course. But why a man, in my opinion, matters, why it's important to be proud to be a man, is because only a man can be a man. Only a woman can be a woman. That's the beauty of the exclusivity. You can do things like they do. Sure, of course. There are women that can beat the ever-loving shit out of men. There are women that are smarter than men. I actually think that I hold women above all else in terms of the hierarchy. I'm tremendous, feminist in that way. But at the same time, I do believe the strength, the patience, and the bravery that is inherent in the way I was raised matters. I think it's important to be that strong, immovable stone, that guiding light that can raise their shields so that others get protected. The one that can dig his heels into the sand and say, I'm not going to make this out of this, but you will. And I want you to know that I'm happy to do it. I think it's important to respect that and celebrate that in any place where it comes from. Because I really do feel that women can do the same thing, you know, to a certain degree. But I also think that you should celebrate the fact that it is an exclusive club to be a man, to be that fearsome warrior that will let his kid crawl all over him and stick things in his ears. And knowing that one day he's going to be saying, okay, son, you are the one that carries the torch now. You are the one that is going to be that safe space, that protector, that sensei for the future. I think it's important. And I think that I'm not ashamed to be proud of that. Just as like I would want someone to be proud of where they come from. You know, I'm born a man, and I will continue to do it the best I can in the way that I think it should be done, which is to do that, right? Create that foundation. That's a good question, and it makes you want to think about it even further. And I'm sure when I hang up from you, I'm going to go, "Oh, I should have said this," but we covered so much that I think the answer is in there too.
Yeah, I think that there is. I think that there are some guiding principles in what we talked about today, and I think that for anybody who's trying to figure their place in the world, that there's some inspiration and guidance there. Which really, at the end of it all, is that's like that's all I would really want somebody to get out of all of these different conversations that I have had and am planning to have with other people, is that there's everybody has a different approach. Everybody has a different flavor and a different style to the way that they approach life and the things that matter to them. But somewhere in the mix, there's some pretty steady fundamentals that we live by as men, but then also live by just as human beings. And they're a lot of them are not as hard as we think that they are. It's just that the complexity of life have blurred the lines.
Nice.
So yeah, but what I'll do is like I'll stop the recording or whatever, and we can like do a debrief. But I appreciate you coming on today and talking and having a little the little hiccup that we had. Whatever that happens. Yeah.
Family business, right?
Yeah, family business. And but yeah, I appreciate it.
Brother, I was happy to be here. It's an honor to be a part of this. I think what you're doing, it matters. I think it's important. And I think it's okay to be excited about it. It's one of those things that needs to be said, because I think there are people out there that are lost.
Yeah.
And that is one of the reasons why I think a man matters. A man can provide comfortable, safe, reliable guidance to the weak. At least they should. They should strive for that. So thanks, brother. I appreciate this.
Yeah, I appreciate it, brother. Thank you.